Rawr. And welcome to Too Stupid to Live, a silly little podcast about romance novels, usually $5 and under. I'm your host, Becky Feldman, and get your paws up, baby, because we are headed to a Monsters Ball. And not the Lady Gaga Monster Ball, a different Monster Ball, but it's just as amazing, and it is also, dare I say, even sexier. Today, my guest and I are reviewing How the Marquis Found His Meow, a Regency monster romance by Nova Blake. Yes, we are reviewing a book where the landed gentry, or actually like any type of gentry, I don't know what that word means, but anyway, it's a Regency monster romance. The sexy men, some of them, have turned into all sorts of monsters, including a tiger monster, which I am so glad exists. Obviously, fictionally, not real. I'm not that. Anyway, listen. I had the best person to discuss this book with, given his love of history and how hilarious he is. My improv pal, Wayland McQueen, is here to help me claw our way through the highlights of this amazing book. So please enjoy this review of How the Marquis Found His Meow. Oh my God, Wayland. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. This is so fun.
It is so good to see you. Oh my God. I feel like it's been a while, but welcome to this podcast, Too Stupid to Live. My question for you is,
Yeah.
have you ever read or skimmed through a romance novel before?
No. I mean, if I've come across one, I maybe have opened it up and flipped through to see what the smut's like. But honestly, I've never engaged with any sort of romance novel in any real way.
Are you, but you are a reader because I feel like we've
Yeah.
talked about YA novels before.
Yeah, I love YA novels. Yeah. And I guess, I mean, not that I haven't read books with romantic subplots, but I have never, yeah, I love what I read, and I read a lot, and I do like YA novels, but I've never done a romance. I don't mind like a pulp novel or anything either. I don't know
Mhm.
why. Yeah.
What, when you say pulp novel, like, is that kind of like a mystery novel or like,
I think of it as or like a dime store novel, like
oh yeah.
those like paperback only, like a romance novel, only it's like about a detective or a alien or something that's just, but it's also just there's not, it's not the most it's not literature,
Right,
capital
right.
L literature necessarily, but I don't have anything against
Exactly.
it. That is not that, but
No.
yeah,
Yeah, they're like kind of like fun airport reads.
yeah, or like a popcorn book. Yeah,
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly. I
yeah.
feel like that's like totally like I think it's parallel to reading romance novels because I think like romance novels do kind of fall under that kind of bracket of like fun escapism reading.
Oh, it's definitely, yeah, it's definitely that. That's why it's like it was like so nice to read, because I was like, oh, this is like, sometimes you read and you're just like, I don't want to think this hard about what I'm reading. I don't know. I don't want to know what the point is.
I don't want to feel sad. I don't want to learn anything. I want to read this.
the two the two tenets of your life. I don't want to feel sad. I don't want to learn anything.
Yeah, because listen, outside of a romance novel, I'm sad all the time and I'm always going to be learning. It's horrible.
Perfect escape.
What is aside from kind of the dime store novels, do you have like other forms of like escape or like kind of like guilty pleasures, quote unquote?
Oh, that's a really uh well, books wise, or just like in general?
In general.
Yeah. Um, I really like animation a lot, and I know that there's like a lot of really good adult animation, but I like any animation. So I
Mhm.
still have seen every episode of Family Guy, and I watched like all of the Cleveland Show.
Mhm.
I American Dad is legitimately one of my favorite TV shows.
Mhm.
So I don't like saying guilty pleasure,
Me
because
neither.
I like owning things. I like owning things, but those, like, I do feel like the fact that I don't miss a new episode of Family Guy is like my turn it on, brains off. I'm on the couch. I'm having a nice time.
I love that for you.
Yeah,
That's great. Yeah, the
yeah,
term guilty pleasure, I'm trying to think of like if there's another term for it because I'm like, serial
yeah.
killing is a guilty pleasure. Like,
Yeah, yeah, you have something to be
like
guilty for. Yeah.
like that's a guilty pleasure. Reading,
Yeah.
watching TV that people have worked hard on, like that's not a guilty
Yeah.
pleasure.
Especially when it's like relatively benign. Like it's not like I'm watching like OAN. Like the guilty
Yeah.
pleasure is keeping up with MAGA. Like it's like
It's just like
no,
fun.
I'm just watching a show.
Exactly. You're just like having like a snack. It's like having a fun snack, but you're doing something instead of eating a snack.
Yeah.
Or you could be eating snacks. I don't know what you do.
Yeah. Oh, I'm eating snacks. I feel more guilty about the snacks.
Oh yeah, no, we should all feel guilty about the snacks. I always snacking. Um, I had asked you what kind of like subgenre you were interested in, and you mentioned
hmm
historical. So my question for you is like,
hmm
is there something intriguing about like history and historical fiction or something like that?
Yeah, I've always been into like history. Even when I was a kid, that was my favorite subject, and just
Mhm.
like nonfiction history and learning about the past. And one of my biggest wishes is if I could time travel. I get sad when I think about how I'll never be able to actually go back in time and time travel.
Mhm.
So I'm just like always interested in anything that like gives a slice of life of what life was like, or like kind of trying to get into that point of view.
Mhm.
In the same vein, I really like dystopian novels because it's like even though it's like modern, it's still like a different world than we live, like a different, but it's like the same. So
Yeah,
they're all the
yeah.
same. It's not like aliens. It's like the same people with the same feelings. They just like don't have cars.
Exactly. Oh my God, I
Yeah.
totally hear you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Is there like a historical era that like you get like kind of fixated on, or like you're like, is there like a certain era of history that's like what's really getting you going right now?
It's like I really like the 20s and like uh that era because I'm like a big baseball fan and that was a good baseball time and
Mm.
um like the pre-depression, pre-World War II like kind of feels like it's like a version of the 1990s where like everyone kind of maybe fooled themselves that everything was fine.
Yes. Yes,
Like
yes, yes.
everything would be good forever.
Yeah.
But I like the late 18th century, early 19th century, like not too
Mhm.
far away from when this book was. Like I
Yeah.
like the some modern conveniences. It's possible that a doctor actually can do something like that era,
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like ice cream exists. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. So there's like some innovations, but like, it's funny, like thinking about like kind of this era, kind of Jane Austen era about like it's so prim and proper and do 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 do, but like how like dysentery was a huge problem. Do you know what I mean?
And everybody just like reeked and there was like shit everywhere.
Yeah, like they didn't know about like washing your hands, you know?
Yeah, they got like mad. It was like, what? Wash our hands? Why?
Like, oh,
Yeah.
what do you think I am poor? I don't wash my hands.
Yeah, it's not poor people. Only poor people wash their hands.
That they need to. Rich people don't.
Yeah, well, they're clean all the time. Yeah, it
Yeah.
is like a very funny con. Like when I like imagine going back in that time, I'd be like, oh, I'd have, and also like I would be like, I think about going back to like the late 1800s or something. I'm like, they would immediately be like, this dude is like the biggest like wiener of all time. Like they'd be like, who is? They would kill me immediately because they'd be like, this guy is such a fop or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Like there
Yeah.
is a level of like, okay, you know how to carry heavy things in the past. You know how to like survive. Like there's a lot of
Yeah.
skills that it takes to like traveling back in the past that we do not have.
No, I absolutely, I've never even like cut a turkey before. So
Like I don't even know what
like
that means.
like a carve a turkey, like
Oh yeah.
yeah, you're in trouble.
I'm yeah. All the Thanksgiving dinners I'll never be able to attend. Well, I guess this segues into this book, which I'm imagining is the most historically accurate book that you have ever read. We reviewed or read how the Marquis found his Meow, a Regency monster romance by Nova Blake. Okay, here's a quick synopsis. Okay. When you think of a hunky tiger man, clearly your first thought is famed serial mascot Tony the Tiger. But at the Monsters Ball, a Regency era matchmaking event for unwed women rejected by human men, there's another tiger heartthrob frosting the flakes of love, and that is Marquis Tyclon Kavar. At the ball, he comes to Lady Isabella Carmichael's aid when her horrendous father is inches away from ruining her reputation among society. But can Tyclon be the hero she needs when he may likely be the monster she abhors? It's clear that trust is the only way Isabella can snatch her chance at freedom. And to that we say, go get him, Tiger.
Did you write that?
I did.
That's really good. That's really
Thank
good.
you.
That's better than anything else I read.
Honestly, yeah.
I mean about it. I read like other synopses about it. Yeah.
Listen, I will gladly like write anyone's synopsis that doesn't need to be
That's great.
written. Yeah. Okay. So so it's when I saw this, I'm like, I had such a hard time wrapping my head around it because it's
What was it? Was this your foray into the Monsters Ball series? Because
yes,
it's a whole
into
series.
exactly.
Okay.
It's this series. Like I've read plenty of other monster books, but this specific series, this is my first foray. And it actually seems pretty interesting because I think they have a lot of different authors coming in and kind of writing different books. So it's
Uh-huh.
not one author, which like that's really cool. Um, I had never heard of like a tiger like being you know what I mean? Like
Oh, is it normally well, because they're like orcs in the book, so and like a weird
exactly.
blob monster at one point. So I think so. It's normally that.
Yeah, that's what I was expecting of like
Oh,
I mean, I understand and granted there are certain cultures where like I definitely googled this last night instead of like getting a good night's sleep. Of like where, there are like myths of like tiger monster shifters in different cultures, but I guess like my first thought would be like, well, if it's a monster, it's like a werewolf, it's an orc, it's a troll, like it could
yeah.
be.
I guess like every other monster there was that basically. So
Yeah.
we got one tiger monster from this
And
plague.
and the thing is that a tiger is an animal and like it's not like it's real. It's a real being.
Well, like, because so they'd be like other animal monsters.
Well, they're not to this extent. Like, I think what's interesting is that yes, in a lot of like monsters and culture, they do have like animal like parts and like animal capabilities, obviously.
Sure,
Like even in
like a
like,
werewolf.
in Greek mythology, when they're like, this is the worst monster of all time, and it's like they have hooves, they have blah, but I've never like had anything where it's like this is just a tiger who can walk on 2 feet and like talk like a man.
That is it. It's just a walking tiger. It's just a
Yes.
tiger man.
Yes. Okay. And that is like about the cover of it all. Like it's like her and like, he's kind of like they're like kind of embracing and it's the face of a tiger. Like there is nothing human about this except for like his
No,
body. It's just a man with a tiger head.
I like couldn't get over how they kissed. Like they addressed it and they're like, I don't think this is gonna work, kissing like in the book, and then they're just like, it worked. And like every time they kissed, I was like, this can't be working.
Yes. I will never stop reading monster erotica until I get a good understanding of how kissing works, and I will read it because I felt the same way.
Yeah, it's like it never would have worked.
Like, what is like kissing something with a snout? Like, there is a
Yeah,
lot of like I will gladly kiss an orc, I will kiss a troll, I'll any one of them. But something with a snout, I don't know what it is. There's like this wall.
and there's like at one point they talked about their teeth clanging together.
That scares me. I guess I'm scared
Yeah.
of cats. Like, I guess I have a mild fear of getting scratched and bitten. So I guess maybe that's like,
Well, that was the theme of the book, is like fear of getting scratched and bitten. So
I am. Yeah, that is true. So this book was really like, it was a total journey. Okay. So I want something that also confused me that I think we should talk about is like
Mhm.
the concept of like what this monster ball is, where if you, it's like kind of like if you're a woman and you like need to meet your match or whatever, if you don't, you get in trouble by the queen to go to a ball. Like I was confused by that.
That is what I gathered. Yeah, because but like it was like because in the book it wasn't Isabella's fault that she didn't get matched. It was her dad's fault.
Right. She has
And I
no
was
reason to.
trying to get the sense, like I was reading some of the other synopses of the other Monsters Ball books to see
Mm-hmm.
where we're at in this.
Sure.
Uh, I think it's like a situation where it's like they're finding people where it's not their fault. Like I
Mm-hmm.
don't think that it was ever just like, oh, like you're a dick, you don't know husband wants to marry you coming on this Monsters Ball. I think it was like, oh, for whatever reason
Mm-hmm.
that isn't your fault or like is beyond your control,
Mm-hmm.
you didn't get a map during this season. And
Right.
then
Then you have to
but
go.
I don't know how they like, yeah, then it's just like, but still it's like you have to marry a monster.
Yeah. And the thing is, I think what's
Yeah.
kind of weird about it is that like in this book, like her dad is really controlling, she can't leave. But like suddenly, like 2 weeks later, there are two orcs at her door, and it's like, you gotta go to the monsters ball. And I'm like, what is this?
Well, it yeah, because yeah, it was all her relationship with her dad. That dad was obviously bad.
Mhm.
Uh, but it is like I was unclear about like how big of a thing the Monsters Ball was like as a known thing.
Yes. Yes, I agree.
Like like and like to what extent? Is it like the secret and like you're not supposed to tell, or is it like hell yeah, I get to go to because she was psyched just because she wanted to leave her dad. But
Mhm.
was the dad like really? Did he think that the ogres weren't going to show up? Like what did he know?
Yeah, I know. Because like if this is like a thing that happens every year, like wouldn't you be like, oh, look at the Shermans again, got the two, or, you know what I mean? Like it would just be
Yeah,
like every year a girl would get dragged away by orcs.
like multiple because it's a whole ball.
Yes. And another thing that confused me was how long is this ball? Like when I think of a ball, I think of it's like one night at the castle. This lasted
It's
like
three
3 months.
No, it's a 3 day ball.
Okay.
But they
Okay.
have it. I was unclear how often they have it because she missed the first one and she was like, well, there goes my chance. And then like 3 days later, as the ogre came up, and I was like, do they have these just like continue? Is it like a continuous thing?
Oh, I think that's what it is. Like it's like, oh, every
Yeah.
Friday is a Monsters Ball or something. Like
Oh
I
yeah.
thought it was like this, like, okay, 3 months out of the year is the Monsters Ball. You unwed people are just going to this
For
to
3 months.
I mean, I don't know. It seemed very long. It seemed long. It seemed like a
That's
summer.
it's a summer's ball.
A
That's
midsummer's Monsters Ball.
a midsummer's monster's ball. Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, you brought me around on a 3 month ball.
Okay.
It's just so long and be so expensive for the Countess.
I know. And like we don't meet the queen character, right? Like there's no
No.
queen in it, but she's obviously looming large amongst this because for some reason, again, I don't know what queens do, but she can keep track of like every single like who's married. You know what I mean? Like I'm just like, what rule the country?
Oh, I see here. Isabella's not married. We have to get her to the
And they're
ball.
like,
It's
ma'am,
embarrassing.
so and so it's underwater. We need money to do that. And they're like, well, no, lady, blah, blah, blah.
I must match up all the monsters of of our country.
Man, there's a, I love, okay, I really did love this book. And I
Mhm.
love that I have so many questions about it. Because my next question was like, in this world, like, there's like a plague that you get and you become a monster, which I have never read before. It was just like, oh, monsters exist. Like in this world, there's orcs,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. This makes it seem like someone gets COVID and then 2 days later they wake up as a tiger.
I think it seemed like that, right? Because he talked about his life like a year ago before when he was just like a normal guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's like, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. So in this world, all of a sudden, people were getting sick and suddenly becoming tigers. Like, what is happening?
But different monsters.
Different monsters, sure.
But that's weirder, right?
I think that is so much weirder because it's like, oh look, it's my first grade teacher. Now she's a pterodactyl. Like, I don't understand. Like, isn't that insane? Like,
did they? I don't think they brought up any women that were monsters.
oh, it was just men. That's right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But that's also weird.
True. That is true.
I don't think there's a disease that exists that only men can get that isn't like a part of the male anatomy.
Right. Yeah. Like, I guess what it is that like they use the term plague, which in my brain, I think sickness, when I wonder if it's like a curse. You know what I mean? Like if it's like a witch's curse.
It feels more like a curse.
Yeah.
Like a Beauty and the Beast curse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But upon the whole land for being inhospitable.
And just the men.
Like, just the men. Just some men.
Yeah. They're also like I'm sorry, but like being a monster seems pretty cool in this world. Like they're really strong, they're super scary, like they're, like there's like it's not that much of a curse, you know what I mean?
There was like no real stigma.
Yes.
Like they got to be in the shops and like
they have balls.
Drunk dad was like, they have balls. And like it seemed just like the same. Like he got to keep his title.
Yeah, exactly.
So it was just like, I guess and then clearly women are into them.
100%. And clearly it's like, it seems way better at the Monsters Ball. Like it seems more free and like lascivious or whatever that word is, at the Monsters Ball, which is like, isn't that what people want? Yeah. Why are we like hating on ourselves? What is the stigma? I think you're absolutely right. Like, what is the stigma here?
I mean, obviously, I think if I turned into a tiger, I'd probably have like a little bit of a hard time coping with it, even if everyone else is cool with it. But like, there doesn't seem to be a stigma. It seems like no one like looks down on any women. If the queen's making it happen, no one's gonna be like, that woman married a monster. They're just gonna be like, all right.
Yeah. Like, what's like if the queen was like, we need to marry off these monsters? Obviously, there's an end game here, and like.
These human monster hybrids that they want to breed.
That's what I think. You know what it could be? It could be like the queen is like a mad witch scientist, puts a hex on the town and is like, I'm gonna make the new human monster hybrids.
Her advisor is Dr. Moreau, or just yes, queen, I think this will be perfect.
Ooh, that'll get him. Okay. But I do think the Marquis Tyclon there is one thing where you do kind of feel for him, where it's like he becomes the tiger from the plague and he's able to keep his title, but his mom completely rejects him. And it's like that, okay, like that's painful. I see.
Yeah, that I guess there's that stigma there. Yeah.
Right.
So I wonder if it's like they're like the people who have the stigma are like the racists, basically. Yeah. Like the progressive people are like, I don't care if you're a monster, and everyone's just like, whatever. But they're the old people that are like, a monster, no, and
in our town,
like, yeah. Also, I don't know the contagion level of this plague because he had a whole staff and none of them turned into monsters, and so, I mean, I know they got dismissed, but yeah.
But like, I guess maybe after all of us kind of surviving the pandemic, like seeing that, like, were they standing 6 feet apart and the line to the market? Like, were they wearing masks? like what did the town?
That's what we didn't learn is Tycon is anti-mask, and that's why he got it.
That's what it is. Anti-masker, yeah.
Yeah, he's an anti-mask. All the anti-maskers turn into monsters.
Yeah, sorry, like sorry, this is how you gotta learn. You become a monster. Don't believe in science, you become a monster.
Yeah. Don't believe in science? Here's science for you. You're a monster now.
And they're like, well, okay, cool. Well, I still have my house, still got my home. Like, yeah, some people don't like
Yeah,
me, but
yeah. It's not that bad.
really not that bad. I mean, it's like funny because it's like in this world, still money is everything. You know what I mean? And it's like you could be a monster, but as long as like you own lands, you're fine.
Oh yeah, like all those like servants that like she had and everything were still like much below the monsters that
Exactly.
had the titles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I think like the worst of it all were like the two orcs who like they were servant or like kind of servant orcs, and it's like, well, what's your deal? You were living a hard life, being lower class. Now you're an orc. What do you have to say about that?
That's a good point. Yeah, yeah. Except for one orc got out.
One orc did get out, yeah.
One orc got it.
Yeah,
Dustin and Caleb, the two
which
most
yeah, the two most orc like names.
Victorian names I've heard, Dustin and Caleb.
What would you do if like you were like, this is my friend, he's an orc, his name is Caleb? Like I would not be able to.
Yeah, if my name's Caleb and I get turned into an orc, I'm changing my name. I'm not
100%.
gonna be Caleb the orc.
Like you like I'm sorry, but like you like maybe that's another bad thing about this plague is like you turn into an orc and it's like, Caleb, I'm sorry, you don't look like a Caleb anymore. Like you're gonna have to just kill Caleb and
Yeah, I
become like
can't.
Kavar Bablor or whatever orc names are.
Yeah, whatever, the standard orc names that we all know.
Your typical orc name. Okay. Let's talk about Isabella for a second here
Okay,
and just
yeah.
like her backstory. Um, because like you said something really interesting where it was like, oh, the people who are going to the monsters ball, like it makes it seem as if like they're there for some form of punishment, but really they're kind of just like a victim of circumstance of their family. And Isabella, I think, definitely falls into that category of like she is a victim.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, her dad is like the most abusive. Like there was almost more abuse in this than sex in this book. Like that father was awful.
He was awful. He was incestuous. He was always drunk. And it was like, I get that like she was like it was that common story of like, oh, she needs to escape him, blah, blah, blah. But he was so awful. It was like no one why hasn't he been arrested before? I guess. Do you know what I mean? Like if he's like this
Yeah, yeah.
crazy and he's like a lord and stuff, and it's like he why like I don't know. How has
And
he gotten away with his not hijinks, that's bad, but how has he gotten away for so long?
yeah, and like everyone seemed to know about it because like in that letter that she called her to the ball, they were like, because of your father's behavior, embarrassing behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't yeah. But he was really bad. He was a bad guy.
Very bad guy, very disgusting. I'm was very
Yeah.
glad when he got his comeuppance. And I think it made you like kind of really feel for Isabella in terms of like she when she gets to the monster's ball, she is so desperate to like find a husband because she just like more so she wants to get away from her father. She wants her best friend to get who's her servant to get away from her father. Like this is like you could like really like sense, the difficulty here.
Oh yeah. I think they did a good job of painting that picture. And I did like I think it was really nice that her best friend was her like lady in waiting or
Mm-hmm.
whatever the term is maid.
Yes.
That was like a really nice, good relationship and like felt felt good. But
Mm-hmm.
I also didn't know like why she left like the dad was gone a lot and she left the house like kind of whenever and then I guess they put guards out when she got the ball invitation. I was just trying to figure out like why
Right.
she couldn't escape. I know she probably didn't have anywhere to go, but yeah.
Yeah, but like there is kind of like in the whole like storytelling of it all, like the why now? I mean, yes, there's the ball, but like why didn't you just
Right.
leave earlier if this was like every day? Like
But that's
why
like
now?
look at us though. Like that's like a classic abusive relationship thing, right? It's hard to
It is.
leave. You can't always leave. So you
Yeah,
can't blame
that
her
is
for
true.
that.
Yo, no,
Yeah.
you absolutely cannot blame her for
Yeah.
that. But there is like this kind of like moment when she gets to the monsters ball where like her dad has discovered that she's there, and he like completely humiliates her.
Yeah, that was. I thought it was going to be fake, or
Mm.
like when it started happening, I was like, this can't be what happened because she was like, how did he get in here? And it like seemed like impossible. So I
Yeah.
thought it was going to be like she was having like a hallucination, or like because she was so traumatized that she just like can't get away from her dad. But
Hmm.
no, like literally, he just like showed up and dragged her away in front of everybody.
Yes, which is crazy. Because it was like the way, like how drunk he seems, like he can't even walk in a straight line, yet he walked from his mansion to another monster mansion and was like, "There's my daughter. I recognize her."
Yeah, and I'm gonna ignore all these monsters.
And then
I
he's
would
like,
love to know how he got in.
"Yes, was he wearing a monster mask? Like what?" And he's like, "Oh,
Oh,
don't
that would
mind
be
me. I'm just the vampire."
growl. Oh yeah, okay. To me, that's what happened now. He got a monster mask that he just like waltzed in.
Yeah, yeah. But the thing is that I mean, obviously he's the real monster. Humans are monsters, blah, 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 blah.
Humans are monsters, monsters are monsters.
Monsters are monsters. But really, Tyclon saves the day when like he kind of like saves her from her dad, and her dress is like ripped and it looks like she's gonna be like a ruined woman, but he's like, no, like what am I gonna do? Like he's like, I want to marry
Well,
her. You know what I
that's
mean?
yeah, yeah. That was a question I had. I didn't understand. Maybe I don't understand this era and what
Right.
it's like of this station,
Hmm.
but I don't understand why her dad shows up, drags her out, and rips her dress.
Hmm.
The monster tackles the dad,
Hmm.
and now everyone's like, she's ruined. I have what that has to do with. I don't know what any of that has to do with her because her
Okay.
dad sucks.
I think it was I don't think it was as gracefully executed in this book per se. But there is a thing of like in these like Regency era kind of romances. Like let's say a woman is like going for a walk in the garden alone because she needs air or whatever. And there's
Hmm.
another single man there. If someone were to catch the two of them together, they're like, oh, are they canoodling outside alone, unchaperoned together?
Oh,
That so a lot of people are like, yes, we are. That's because we are getting married. And then you have your kind of your kiss scenario.
uh,
I don't think that this was executed well just because it was usually in like other not a monster region. It's kind of like titillating and like sexual. Like they almost like it's like someone walks in on them almost kissing, like someone walks in on them
yeah.
actually kissing or making out or whatever. And this is just like her dad, and it was just like, whoa, this is like a lot. You know what I mean?
But so you're saying that the reason she was ruined is because they hugged after.
Yeah, and
It
they
wasn't
saw
the
him. Mhm.
dad. It wasn't the dad. It was the fact that after Ty
Ty.
attacked dad,
Hmm.
then she like embraced him, and then everyone's like that hussy.
Yes,
So
exactly.
that's
That's what
the
how I
only that
read it.
I that does make a lot of sense. I for some I was like so fixated on the dad part of it. I didn't think I was like the guy saved her, and these rules from back then
It's nuts.
they're too much.
But even despite these rules, I think with the fact that, like, okay, you know what? Your father just ruined the ball and attacked you. Like, we'll give you a pass for needing a hug from a stranger. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I don't think like the
That's
rules of sluttiness count.
that's what I was like. She's like the most despondent she's ever been, and a guy just saved her life.
Hmm.
Let him have, just give him a hug and get out of there.
Yeah,
Like,
come on. Like,
I'm not
and
gonna dance with you. You hugged that tiger.
yes. I mean, like they all witnessed it too. And it was
Yeah,
like, give this poor woman. Like,
yeah, yeah. So I feel like if she would have like stepped out and she was away from them, and then the dad showed up and dragged her away, and then the tiger tackled, and then they only saw the hug after, like kind of what you were
yes.
saying, that
Mm-hmm.
would have made sense to be like, oh no, they didn't know that she was saved.
Yeah,
They just saw like the embrace, but they saw like
exactly.
yeah, they saw
And
it from the beginning.
yeah.
They
And they
should feel bad that they didn't do anything.
I agree. I felt that way like the entire time of like arrest this man. Like he clearly like he is like committed crimes. Like, you know, like even like just to get he trespassed into a ball. Like that's a crime. He could go to like put him in jail. He's allowed to do that. Like,
That's why I thought it was like a dream because at one point she was like, "Where are the guards?" And I was like, "Oh, this feels like unrealistic for how this would actually go down."
yes.
So that's why I felt like she was like, "He's suddenly here. There are no guards. Like this feels like what she's fearing would happen." Because it
Yeah.
was like those orcs were like so present the whole time,
Yes.
and then
Yeah.
suddenly this guy bursts in and is drunk, and everyone's like, "No thanks."
Yeah. Like, oh, we're not dealing with that. Mm-mm. That's
Yeah,
messy.
that is
That's
yeah.
messy. I guess maybe like I needed some sort of like explanation of like, oh, you know how like in like I don't know, in like crime novels, it's like, oh, the mobster has a deal with the police and the police stand down whenever the mobster wants to like there
Yes,
was like something like that, you know, where it was like this father had some
yeah.
sort of power or whatever, you know.
But it was established that everybody hated him. The orcs hated him,
Mm-hmm. The
and
queen.
like yeah, the queen hated him. The countess, like everyone hated this guy, and was like so happy for Isabella to get away from him. And then he shows up, and they're like, "Well, we tried,
Yeah, exactly.
but
Oh
he's I
man.
guess he's got you."
What a stubborn man that is.
He outdrank us.
Yeah. Men will be men, as they say. And she's just like tears. But after that sequence, one of my favorite scenes happens where she's like wandering the garden getting some fresh air. And she's looking at different statues. And there are a bunch of different statues in lewd acts, as they say. Were you waiting for them to come to life? Because I was. I was like, oh, look,
Oh no,
gargoyles.
I didn't even think of that.
I was like, I cannot wait to meet these characters. And then I was like, statues the whole time.
They just like live in the maze, and they're like, "Welcome to the real monsters ball."
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they made her okay. So my big complaint, and I talked
Mm-hmm.
to other people about this book, or
Mm-hmm.
not like generally,
Mm-hmm.
but it took so long to get to any smut.
I know. Oh
This
my
was the first.
God.
This was the first even like anything. Like
Yes.
there was Maris, the maid made that one comment of like, I wonder what's under their breeches.
Yeah.
Like, but then until these lewd statues, there was no sex at all.
Exact. There was nothing remotely arousing at all.
No, no
Yeah.
kissing, no like she like maybe mentioned that she was I can't remember when we found out she was a virgin, but like
Mm-hmm.
that like it was the it was like a it was more about it was like an abusive drama.
Yes, it absolutely was. I completely agree with you. Like it just like it like there wasn't anything because like something that I noticed about her character is that she's like really horny and like really kinky and like but doesn't know it yet.
Yeah.
And it's like all of a sudden like it came on kind of suddenly where it was like, oh, where was that in the beginning a little bit, you know?
That's what felt weird is that like cuz she like this she gets horny from the statues and then she starts masturbating and it's like and she's like I do this all the time and it's like you had I wrote it down where what first smut page 69 chapter 12 it's like we had 70 pages for you to just let us know that you're horny
Yes,
and
yes.
it's not all about getting away from your dad.
I will say kind of great. It's on page 69. I'll give the
Oh,
author
that's
credit for
true.
that.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I'm being very immature. But no, you're absolutely right. Like I wanted like there was like some, you know, like he does like notice her, you know, and sees that she's beautiful and she
yes, yeah,
does
yeah,
like
yeah.
notice his kind of beauty, but like that's not like arousal. Do you know what I mean? Like
No,
that's not like that's like oh, like it's something different. It just feels different.
I mean it was like the same as like a Disney movie level when you see
Yes.
someone and you're like my heart like which is fine.
Mhm.
But I talked to other people that I know who read a lot of romance novels and I was like is it normally this late and they're like but no that's so late and I was like okay
It is
yeah
so late in the game. And the thing is that it didn't really have to be because even like the first time they don't even have like penetrative sex until like much later on, but it still got like I don't know. Like I felt like this. I don't know. I felt like this garden scene could have happened so much earlier. I loved it so much.
Oh yeah. I think that there could have been, not that every, I don't want to get like too porno about it, but like the way that the relationship between Maris and her
Mm-hmm.
seemed like there could have been something there.
Yes, they
Like
could
the
have
way
made.
that it's
Yeah.
based on the way she wrote it. Like I'm not saying that they need to like hook up, but like there's something, or Maris could have helped her have privacy to jack off. Like there was something
Yes.
there.
Yes.
And I was like, there were, yeah, probably not gonna have penetrative sex if she like can't even like see a man
Right.
because of her dad. But like there were opportunities for something.
Absolutely. Because like I think it's like goes to this thing of like, well, sexuality doesn't exist because another person is in the room with you. Like
Yes,
sexuality
yeah,
exists because you're human, you know?
yeah. And that this kind of book where you're gonna have like very explicit scenes, like why don't you plant that
Hmm.
earlier and make
Yeah.
it clear that like, oh yeah, she wants to get out of here because her dad's abusive, but also she's like 22 and horny.
Yeah.
Like that's also a good motivator to like want to
Exactly.
get out, and like that ends up being part of the motivator.
Yeah.
Like, so why
Absolutely.
not have it come up early? That was very confusing to me.
I completely agree with you. That is like that is a really, really valid criticism of this book because it was kind of like I loved her character in the second half. I felt like I knew her more. I felt like I knew him
Yeah,
more, you know, and I think it was for that reason of just like I don't know, it was just like victim, victim, victim. Like, do you like I don't know. I feel like virgins can know what they want. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
that's
virgins
yes,
aren't fucking idiots. I mean, I was, but like the you know what I mean? Like they're not idiots. Like some people like think virgins are like they were born yesterday, and it was like they weren't.
yeah. They're like they still like went through puberty and get like like it
Yes.
happens like, and like oh, I lost my thought, but yes, I was gonna say something and now I forgot.
Oh, if
But
you
I
think of
do
it, let
think
me know.
I think if I think of it, yeah. But it was about how she could have. But I think what was oh, I know it was like so one dimensional to have her like only be a victim,
Mm-hmm.
because I think probably the author did that because when she came out of her shell, then it was like everything was awakening.
Mm-hmm.
But like you
Yes.
don't have to, like it's similar to what you were saying. Like you don't have, because you're awakening doesn't mean you have to be like 100% asleep.
Right.
She
Yes.
could have, even if she would have like accidentally masturbated and been like, oh, is this what I'm going after?
Yes, yes. Like that would be great. Of like, or like something happens where she's like, "Oh, I've read about this," or "Oh, I've dreamt about that."
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, to like,
yeah,
granted, like it's still new because it's happening in real life. You know, like,
yeah. Or like her mom could have been like a little uh forthcoming with sex before
hmm
she died, and that could have been a thing that she remembered about her mom, is that
exactly.
like there are like ways to have done it that don't even have to be like super smutty, but are
Yeah,
like an like the fact that it got so explicit later felt so weird to have so much with no, with zero explicitity. What's no
yeah. That sounds
explicitness? Yeah, I don't know.
yeah. That
Yeah.
sounds right. Yeah, because it's like it kind of like it is funny because like it almost is like kind of like that argument where people are like, "Oh, well." People weren't having sex back then. They weren't enjoying sex back then. And it's like they were. They just
Yeah.
weren't writing about it. Like they were like
Yeah.
if there are outliers in our current like existence, there were definitely outliers in the past too. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
of course. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's not just like everybody was like perfunctory sex. Like they were.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, that said, what I appreciated that what I could not Kavar Tyklon Kavar does,
Typhon.
he walks in on her masturbating in the garden. He waits until she finishes, which I thought
It's
was
so
very
nice of her.
respectful.
Is that what you would want?
That's is what
I
I
was
would
like,
want. He'd be like, "What is happening? Oh my god, I smell everything." Um,
he did smell
he
everything.
did smell everything. He has tigers have a great sense of smell, I guess.
That's
And he's like, I know it. It was like kind of a fun moment because like he was like, "Oh, I know what she's doing. I'm gonna."
yeah. But
Yeah.
if you okay, so I get you don't want someone walking on you. That's pretty rude,
Sure.
especially in that clearly she's in an emotional situation
Yes.
because of what just happened with her dad.
Hmm.
But then if you find out later, you're like, oh, actually, if you're her and he was like, oh yeah, actually, like I heard you, but I stayed and listened. Is that weird?
Well, I think for the two of them, no, because
Yeah, that's true.
I think I think what a lovely thing for them to like reenact on their first anniversary or something like next
Oh,
year,
that's true.
something like that. But yeah, but definitely if it were like a stranger that no, wait, I take that back. If it were in real life, yeah, that's terrible. But in a book, I'm okay with
You're right. Yeah, yeah. I'm
it.
making it too real. And he was very respectful. He didn't jerk off. He just got a boner, but he
Yes.
waited and waited for his boner to go down before he talked to her.
Exactly. He was like very like I mean, the level of maturity that this tiger monster had.
Also, like this is going away from the scene. We can keep
Mm,
talking about the scene, but one great thing is that the consent in this book was like 100%. He like
yeah.
all every time they were both like it was like a model of how consent should go, which
Yes.
was really cool. This for
Yes.
every interaction that they had, which I was
Hmm.
like, oh, this is really nice. This is really nice to see.
Yeah. I loved it. And it was like to the fact where like I think they made it I know it was a tiger monster saying this, but they made it seem like sexy where he was like, is this okay? Like, is this all right?
Yeah,
Is this okay? And like it wasn't like it was done in such like the consent itself was sensual. It wasn't like, oh,
yeah,
let me just like step away from the sensuality of it all. It was like, no, this is asking someone if this is okay is a sensual moment.
it's part of it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
They should have like kids in sex ed read this
I agree.
for the consent. This is how consent can be sexy, and you don't think it
Yes.
can be, but it can be.
Honestly, it's funny you say that because like I have a friend who has a son who like she like obviously like there's like all of these romantasy YA books out now that are very explicit and she's like, "Oh, do you think this book would be good for him?" And I'm like, it was the I don't know, have you heard of Fourth Wing? Like that book is very big.
No.
And it's there's explicit sex, but I'm like, it's better than porn, you know what I mean? Like there's consent in it. It has that kind of stuff in it. So it's like, yeah, I don't know how to answer. So it's like I don't know how to answer
Yeah,
that. You know what I mean?
yeah. Like if he's comfortable with it, if you're comfortable, like it's
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it is better than porn because it feels like how it realistically could or would go.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Or just like teaching, like, even if it's not, it just teaching respect and boundaries and things like
Yeah,
that, versus like porn where you just think things just like happen and we have no idea what we're doing.
right. Like a look, and you're just like, let's fuck, and
Yeah,
it's like,
exactly.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
oh, you're my neighbor? We're fucking.
yeah. That's all the consent I need. You moved in next
No,
door.
I moved in next door. It's sealed. Well, yeah, I mean, I actually like do want to jump to that scene because like she agrees to marry him and like she wants to explore his body for the first time and he is very nervous like he's gonna like lash out or do or like become the Hulk or something and he's like, I'll let you look at me if you tie me up. And she full on like that was hot. I loved that scene.
She was like in right away
Yes.
because
Yes.
yeah, and it was like it was pretty because like he was doing it from safety, so I'm not even sure like he was going to be aware that he'd be into it.
Right.
I think that they were both like, oh, there's something to this.
Yes. They both really like, and it was like that was like her awakening. Like that could be the
Yes,
awakening of like, oh, I like, yes, I've always been sexual, but I've always, oh, this is really empowering for me. Like I need that. You know what I mean?
yeah. There was this like through line when she woke up
And that
that
makes sense. When
she
she got woke. Yeah.
uh when she got woke
Mhm.
that she, yeah when she when she started using DEI practices for all her hiring, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
that she like her being in charge was like
Yes.
the thing she wanted.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. So there was that scene, and then okay. Then like after that, she wait, what happens where she goes, oh, she gets that letter from her dad that he's dying, and they're like,
yeah. So they don't. So this is a huge tease scene because
exactly,
they
it's
get
definitely
tied up
tease.
and they're like the most horny they've ever been in their lives, and
Yes.
then that dude is like, "Your dad's dying."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
He totally like just right at the moment, you know, she has to go back to her dad only to have her dad put her in a nunnery. She gets sent to the nunnery.
Yeah, which I don't know like why he didn't do before.
Yes, I completely agree. Of like, oh, why didn't you do this? Like, she's already behind a few years. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but he goes to an nunnery, which I guess you can just do without consent.
Yes. Yes. I mean,
Hmm,
with religion, there are no rules, you know, like this is
that's true.
patriarchy.
Yeah,
Um, I
yeah.
was like, again, my thought was, is there a tiger priest? Is there a monster priest? Like, what if the priest was a werewolf?
Yeah. Well, the priest probably all messed up.
Yes.
Um, yeah. I didn't even I wasn't you thought more about the monster world than I think I did. But
100%.
like
Yeah,
I think that
absolutely.
yeah, I wasn't
And
even
I
thinking.
didn't have
Yeah.
to at all. And I did. That's the thing. I
No,
didn't
you
have to.
should have. That's part of the world. That's part of the that's part of it.
I
You're
just like
right.
have all these
I guess with the
thoughts, you
nunnery,
know?
there has to be at least one monster in the clergy of the church.
Yes. I mean, like there like is there a monster pope? Is like,
I don't think a pope's gonna elect a monster is gonna elect a pope back then. Maybe now.
maybe now. See, that's heartbreaking to me. That's so heartbreaking.
That a monster can never be pope.
Yeah,
Not
like
in my
come on.
lifetime.
Yeah. I'm never gonna live a life where Frankenstein can become the Pope. You know, it's really depressing.
Somebody turned into a Frankenstein. It's just any monster.
Yeah, just like just grunting in Latin. But what I did like about this nunnery scene is that she works for a day or something, and there she's like she really learned the value of hard work.
Yeah, she did. She got it. Well, at the end, I guess she's like knitting and stuff. So maybe it did. Well, she knitted and sewed before.
Yeah, but
I
like
mean,
it
it was
made
nice.
yeah. I feel like it made her appreciate Maris more. You know what I mean? Of like, oh, this woman empties
Yeah,
my chamber pot or whatever they do. You know, it's like, oh,
she does. Someone does.
someone has.
I do think I agree with you because I did think there was this little bit of a sense, maybe I just referring to it, where she was like, all like, love the staff, but then I was a little like, but do you love the staff?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She was always like, I don't want them to get beat. And then it was just like, yeah, but you're still making choices that you know is going to be bad for the staff. And I know
Yeah.
you got to like, there's not really anything she could have done, but there was this little bit of like, she was obviously way better to the staff than almost anybody was to the staff then, but there was this little bit of like, I don't know if she gets it
Yeah. There was
until
like a
the
level
nunnery.
of her just like not recognizing her privilege. Like, even
Mm-hmm.
though, yes, this, Maris can be her best friend, but she's still in her employ, or at least in her father's employ. It's like
Right.
if you are in that like kind of transactional kind of thing, someone is always more in power than who isn't, and then
Exactly.
she just like wasn't recognized. Like, I totally get that. Yeah. Like it is,
Yeah.
it's a sticky situation, as they say.
I mean, it's tough. It would be tough if one of my many servants and I became friends.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah,
And it's also like interesting because it's like, okay, there's so many different power plays here, in terms of like finance and gender and, kind of class and things like that. So it's like, oh, in some circumstances, she's completely powerless, but in others, she could, I
that's
don't know.
true.
Yeah, it's interesting.
See, now that could have been interesting to explore that that's the only way that she could flex this power that she was wanting is with the staff,
Yes. Yes.
which would have been inappropriate. So we want her to remain a good person, but
Yeah. I mean, like this staff was like, I'm into this and you don't have to pay me or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like we're all best
yes,
friends.
that's
Yeah.
true. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
there's just missed opportunities.
It turns out at this nunnery, like there's the kind of thing where her nun roommate or whatever ends up being Tyclon's ex fiance, who says, "Oh, you actually weren't as angry as your mom gaslit you to be," which was nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you first, she introduced herself as Penelope, and then you're
Mm-hmm.
like, that's Ty's fiance's name. What was
Mm-hmm.
like your first realize that? Like, what was your thought?
My thought was, I like I thought she was gonna say one of like she was gonna say I don't blame him for everything. One of the symptoms of the plague when you first get it is lashing out, and that's why he lashed out at me.
Oh, okay.
But that is not the case.
No, that was even a lie.
That was a lie.
I went straight to like, she's here because her mom or his mom like put her here and she's also trapped here. And when she was
Mhm.
doing all that, like, I love it here, which turned out to be very true,
Yes, she
was
loved it
like
there.
her saying that just to like fool herself.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Because it did seem that way. I guess like maybe because she seems so earnest, I like, oh, I believe her. She really wanted to be a nun. Like, I don't know. Maybe that's
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it turned out to be true. I read way too much into it. But
No,
at first I was like, oh, I still think the mom is the bad guy in my scenario. And I figured there was going to be a way where
yes.
like her and Ty like make it so it, like you were saying, like it's not as bad, or like I forgive
Hmm.
you because like you didn't do that. That's not
Yes.
you.
Hmm.
But I was surprised that it was just straight up like, no, I just left to be a nun because your
Yeah.
mom said to, or your
Yeah.
mom said, and your mom told you that you're a tiger or
Hmm.
that you're a bad tiger. And I don't,
Your mom called you a bad tiger, and
your mom
I
called you
being
a
a
tiger.
nun.
Yeah. Classic story.
Oh yeah, classic boy meets tiger, girl meets tiger
Go with
story.
tiger.
One becomes a nun. Um,
I,
yeah. Oh, go ahead.
oh no, go ahead. Oh,
No, no, no.
okay.
You go.
I
You go.
did think it was a little weird that like throughout the whole, up until the nunnery,
Hmm.
Ty was like going through this, like he'd tense up and he'd feel this anger and he'd need to take a break and go for walks and everything.
Hmm.
But then like the set, so that like felt intrinsic and real.
Hmm.
And then the second he found out that he never attacked Penelope, that all also disappeared.
Yes, he suddenly
And so
became
I
like
was like,
this gentle giant. Yeah.
yeah, and I was like, well, you wouldn't you still like feel the tiger urges? And maybe that was confusing to me because I was like, you should still feel that instinct, that prey animal instinct, but
Hmm.
then maybe now you're like, oh, I know I can control it,
Yeah.
versus
Or
just
yeah.
like, oh, it just doesn't happen anymore.
Right. Yeah. It just like it's like all of a sudden he got this validation from Penelope and he's like, "Oh, I'm not a monster. Bye."
Yeah.
Like, and
So
it's like,
yeah, I'm not angry at all because he became the most like passive, like
yes.
doormat almost of a dude after that. And I know that his whole thing was like, I serve this woman, I love her, and there's nothing wrong with that. But
Right.
like,
Hmm.
but it was just like such a flip to this
Yes.
dude that was just like, no, like he was kind of a jerk, I guess, to other people, but like he became such like a, maybe that's what he was like before. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. Like I feel like anger and like kind of being feral, like her dad is that way and he's human. He's not a tiger. We all have those like
Yeah.
feelings, And I think it's like the same thing of like, well, why wasn't she horny before she met him? Because she's a human being. And I think like being angry and not knowing what to do with your feelings, like, that is a very human thing. And it's like, oh, he like I would want to see that for sure of him like just dealing with these feelings, but then knowing how to like handle it, not suddenly like boom, personality change.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think, and it could still be like kind of like boom, like a, because the book doesn't have to be like, didn't have to spend like 100 pages on
No.
character development, but like, yeah, like especially because the knife play scene came after that, and that was like mostly about her. He was so
Yes.
like, I don't want to do this, I don't want to hurt her, like
Mm-hmm.
kind of, which is again fine, but like I feel like that's the perfect time to be like, oh, I'm gonna use this animal instinct to just like now only to,
Yes.
and like that just was like not there.
Right. Yeah. And like there was like kind of a titillating, like I did really enjoy the scene. Like basically, like they make a plan to spook the dad to get him to, say I'm guilty. And but before that, like he gets her a knife to protect herself. And they have sex, and he's like showing her like the different places where you can like stat, and it's like, but they end up having sex. But yeah, I agree. Like there wasn't he was she was the feral one,
Yeah.
with which was interesting. But yeah, they're like what were the tiger tidbits? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was like all thought. Yeah, it was like, oh, there's two people here that can participate in
Mm-hmm.
this based on their character.
Yes,
But it was a good scene. She wrote it very well as far as like
I
the
loved it.
how sexy it was every time she was like, show me here, and it was just
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, I get how this is working.
I thought it was beautifully executed. Like they're just the level of like it's it's like the most vulnerable. Like here she is, like it's like life or death. It's pleasure or non-pleasure. It's just like everything at once in a way. And it's like
Yeah.
doing something that you can't come back from. Like, I don't know. It was just like, oh, whoa, every sense was like heightened in that scene.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was a really good scene, which also just further solidified why we could have used more scenes because the sex scenes were good.
So good. They were so good.
Yeah,
And like
and
it,
she didn't want to
yeah,
write one for 100 pages.
I know. It could have, like, we could, I mean, yeah, yeah, there could have been a lot more. But okay, we got to get to the fact that like she ends up like doing this entrapment thing with her father. Like she basically is like, I know how to take care of my father. I'm gonna pretend to be my. She's like all of a sudden discovers, oh, my mom killed my dad, or my dad killed my mom, and she's like, I'm gonna get him confessing, and basically she was like, I'm gonna pretend to be the ghost of my mom and to get my and drug my father and get him to confess.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that was the plan.
It made me laugh so hard because there was like one moment where he was like, he went to get supplies for the plan, and I was like, where did he go? Party City? Like, where's he? Like, this is insane. Like, what supplies? Like clown makeup and like
Also, a very funny thing that I wrote some notes, and one of the notes I wrote is that she had this plan and they talked about it for a while and he got supplies. And then she showed up and did like one thing. And then it literally says Isabella tried to think of other things to do. And you're like, you had the didn't you have a plan?
yeah,
And that
the
was like before
plan.
she like powdered herself or did anything. She was just like looking around, like, what can I do? It's like, what was the plan
Yes.
then?
Like you prepared, like you got the costume right. Okay. You did like the whole thing of like you made it colder, you put opium in his stuff, but it was like, what? And thank God he caved really quickly. He was like, I did it. I did it. I killed you. Goodbye. Like
It happened. He fell for that plan so fast.
so fast. So fast.
And I was like, because I mean, once you have a plan where you're gonna hunt someone, that to me is like, this is like, speaking of liking cartoons, this is like a cartoon plot.
Yes.
And I'm like, I cannot wait to see this unfold. And it just happens like that.
It
And
was
I was
so
so,
fast.
so I just like, it was like two shoes rolled down the stairs, and she showed up in silhouette at the top of the stairs, and he's like, "Yep, I killed her." And
Yes.
it's like nothing, no eyes behind a painting.
Yes. No, like, I don't know, like someone in the walls, like
Yes,
moving stuff. Like, there was just like, I don't know. You had a tiger monster there. Like, what if he, I don't know, like use that, make scratches in places that he didn't think were scratched before? Like
yeah,
there's just like so much at their, this could have been a really, really fun piece de resistance, if you will. Um,
yeah,
and granted, it's not why we're reading the book. We want it for the sex, but I did that scene. I just like wanted like a noises off level of like,
yeah.
like kind of a farcical play.
You are right. It's not why we're reading the book, but then once we introduce it, you have to deliver on that promise. Like if you're gonna have the plot being a haunting,
Yes. Yes.
yeah, we
And
need to see
yes.
it.
And also like it's insane. Like, okay, like suddenly she's an actress now. Like, do you know how much guts like I would like, if I don't know, but it was just like she really believed like, oh, all I have to do is this and he'll believe it, and he did. But like there wasn't any level of like, oh, what if I don't sound like her, or like, oh, what if he sees right through it? Like it was just there was
Yeah,
no hesitation.
no. Put on the dress her mom died in
Yes.
that still had the blood on it
Mm-hmm.
from when her head neck snapped
Yeah.
and she fell down the stairs or got
Mm-hmm.
pushed.
Yeah.
Yeah, she nailed it and it worked so quickly. Then again, I've never done opium, so maybe the opium
Me
had something
neither.
to play.
Yeah, that's what I figured of like, okay, he probably was already freaking out, but I
Uh,
guess like I don't know. I think it could have been more it could have been extended. I guess
yeah,
this whole book could have been extended, to be honest. Like I just felt like I
yeah,
wanted more. And especially in that scene, like could have been like really fun.
yeah, really fun. And I think that she could have written like the same amount of pages because there were a lot of pages of her just like kind of repeating over and over again how like she needed to get out. And like
Mm-hmm.
there were a lot of pages of Tide being like, but I'm a monster. And I get that that is like part of what they're going through, but
Mm-hmm.
it could have also kept it going.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It did feel like, especially in the beginning when like when it is like she's stuck, a monster, monster, monster. Like even in the beginning, like we're not even with Tyclon enough. It's like a lot of very
No.
much Isabella and like, yeah, so it was like that could have been sped up. I agree with you on that.
Yeah, I think she was just trying to like really get us invested, but I was like, I feel like you did it. Now
I
move on.
was.
Now, yeah, I was in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like you had
he
me at the
was.
cover. Like,
They honestly had me once I found out the mom fell down the stairs and broke her neck, which was pretty
right.
early. I was like, "What? This is wild."
Yes. This is
Yeah,
absolutely wild. Yeah, I agree. Like you didn't need too much of like the kind of the violins playing and all of this stuff. Like we all like if there's anything relatable about this book, it's like yeah, like we all have like regrets and things that make us sad. We can relate to those things. Like we don't need to worry about like like is this person relatable? It's like, well, no, they are.
you know that scene in the ball the next morning when she like meets those women that like become her friends, and
Mhm.
then there's like an American and the other woman
Hmm.
that seemed completely out of place because then she never talks to them or refers to them again.
No, no. And then
Yeah.
another part where like I was just rereading it this morning where there was like a letter and she sent someone a letter because she couldn't go to the monsters ball and she's like, "Oh, Yvain, please tell
Oh,
me." Blah blah blah.
okay. Yeah. So this relates to that too.
Okay.
That person she sent the letter to and those two women are the protagonists of other Monsters Balls book.
Oh,
So
that
she was
makes
tying it in.
sense.
And
Okay.
I only read that because again I was going through and I was like, what are the other plots? And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I recognize this name. I recognize this name. And I was like, oh, those are just like so I wondered if those books there's like a part where they
Hmm.
meet Isabella.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was like kind of like a Marvel universe style Easter
Yes.
egg.
Yeah.
Got it.
Because that
'Cause-
one
yeah.
friend like had gone to she sent it to get a message to someone at the Monsters Ball. Yeah, and
Right.
she's her because it was like YVIE or something, and
Yeah. Mhm.
she's the main character of another Monsters Ball book. So we
Okay.
find
Got
out
it.
what
That
happens
makes
there.
sense.
Yeah,
But still, like I guess maybe I don't know. Yeah, sure that's in the series and like that's like but I still wanted some sort of you still want some sort of bookend, like even a mention
yeah,
of it of like even at some point, like, oh, I wonder whatever happened with Yvain in the letter. Just and it's like, oh,
yeah.
okay, oh yeah. Like
Or they could have just been at the wedding
yes.
because
Yes.
the Monsters Ball was over. They could have just been like, oh, and we contacted these because we saw you had a good time and Evane's there, and then it's just like, oh, cute, they're all there,
Yeah.
and then
It's
with
a
their
yeah.
monster because they all have monsters too.
Yeah, it could be like another it's like essentially another monsters ball. Like you can have a monsters
Oh
ball
yeah,
all the time. A
like a
monsters ball
monsters reunion. What were you saying?
monsters ball part two, the
Yeah, Monsters Ball
sequel.
Part Two. Yeah, the wedding.
Okay. I want to ask you about like your final thoughts, how you felt about
Okay,
like the happily ever after. And I'm gonna ask you to rate it. Now, rate it about how much you enjoyed it. We are gonna rate it on lewd garden sculptures. 1 out of 5 lewd garden sculptures means you hated it. 5 out of 5 means you loved it.
Okay, so do you want me to rate it right now and then tell
Oh
you
yeah, you
my
can
thoughts, or does it matter
whichever works for
whenever
you.
you want to do it?
Yeah.
I would say I it's one of those things where before we recorded, I was like, I'm nervous and I'm just gonna be negative because like there were a lot of my notes were like at one point the author switched to first person. Did you notice
Yes, I did notice
that?
that. Yeah.
Like those
Mm-hmm.
little things were like, so a lot of my notes were these like snarky notes that were just like what, and then
Mm-hmm.
like, but that aside,
Mm-hmm.
I did have a great time reading it. I read it so fast.
Yes.
Like it was not a slog to
Mm-hmm.
read it. Like I remembered a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh so I would give it 3.5 lewd golden sculptures
Okay.
because the 1.5 off is because it could have been way sexier.
Yep.
And because the end didn't deliver with the haunting.
Yes. Yeah. Because
It like left a sour taste in my mouth.
if you're gonna spook, do a spook. It just like made me laugh because like my right now my 4-year-old niece is really into saying boo because like you'll yes enter and go and so like
Yeah.
that's what I was just thinking the whole time of like I'm gonna get dad boo and he's like I did it and it's like that book over.
But it was a very nice introduction to this genre of book,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm really happy to have read one. And I think I told you
Yay.
I wanted historical or like but something weird,
Mm-hmm.
something because like I want to go all in on. I don't want to dip a toe into this kind of thing. I'd rather just read something
Yes.
bonkers out the gate. Yeah,
Absolutely. You want to sometimes like there's some I feel like there are some people who just like need to like cannonball right in and that ends up being such like a great experience because like I love this. You know
yeah.
what I mean? Like this was
And
great.
I was bought in. Like we
Mhm.
talked about the monsters and the plague, but I was like, I'm at no point did they need to convince me that monsters and humans fucked. I was just like, I'm in. I'm into this. It's
Yes.
like other
Yeah.
than the kissing, but
Hmm.
and I did have to Google because she said there were spines on his dick,
Oh, I of
and I
course
was
I
like,
Googled tiger erections last night.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And it seems like they're like little things on there.
There are spines on there
Yeah,
that like and I looked at a few pictures. I did look at
yeah,
pictures of tiger dicks.
I did too.
There are it seems like this guy the Tyclon's dick is way bigger because like these tiger dicks were
Yeah,
pinky size
yeah,
but it still had like kind of like it still seemed like it was made of the same tissues.
yeah. I think that yeah, but that was the only time that I was like really taken out of it.
Right, yeah, I
Yeah,
mind the dick part of it all. Like I was like, oh, that's cool, like obviously the dick is different. Here's something that I learned last night when I was googling facts about tigers again instead of sleeping. um Tigers don't know how to purr. Tigers cannot purr.
I that was one of the notes that the first time he purred, I knew that, and I wrote, and I was like, tigers can't purr, and that was
Yes.
like, I was gonna bring that up,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, that was like the most like pedantic I felt because I
Yes.
was like, because purring makes so much sense in this kind of book, and I
100%.
was like,
Yeah.
do your research, lady. Tigers can't
They can't purr. Yeah.
purr.
And so like then I'm like, okay, why? And then it was like 3 a.m. and I'm like, why am I reading about bone cartilage and tigers? Like what am I doing? But it was nice, but I do think like to the extent of like, oh, the monster of it all was maybe a bit ill-defined. So yeah, tigers can't purr, tiger monsters can purr, like tiger Marquis can purr, sure. Yeah,
she had like a disclaimer at the beginning that was like, this isn't going to be historically accurate. Magic
yeah,
exists in this world, and I was like,
exactly.
and I like read that at first, and I kind of rolled my eyes, and I went back, read it, and I was like, oh, you know what? You just kind of like addressed all my complaints because you front
Exactly.
loaded it by telling me that it doesn't that you it might not work, and I was like, all right,
Yeah.
you
Like
won, fair game.
yeah, she kind of like beat like kind of is like, listen, I know you're gonna argue like this whatever. I know it's not. Like why if you want to read about history, like get a history book. Like
Yeah,
we
yeah,
want to
yeah.
read about a tiger fucking a woman. in a pleasure garden. Like, this is
And
what
I'm
we're here for.
and one thing I did research, there's spines on that dick. So
Yes.
do not get at me about that dick.
Exactly. Like, don't worry. Yeah, I didn't research, plagues and how they work or whatever. But yes, no. Did I research tiger dicks? Of course I did.
Yeah, you don't want any surprises here. There's a weird, and he is going to address it.
Yes. Yes. And it ends
Yeah.
up being more pleasurable for her. So I'm like, great. It was,
It did work as like
yeah,
a
a
what ribbed for
ribbed.
her pleasure claims
Yes. Yes. So I was
to
like,
do.
yeah. So I was like, I was happy for them. I was happy for her. I was happy. Like,
Yeah.
honestly, I do think that like this book was a lot of fun to read. My rating for it is 4 out of 5 lewd sculptures.
Oh, okay.
Um, I thought it was really enjoyable. It was really fun. Like her journey was a lot of fun. But I think for like a lot of what we were talking about of just like kind of living in the world more and kind of making them, for lack of a better term, seem more human with like human urges and stuff, like that could have been fun. But I really enjoyed this book. It was like,
I
yeah.
I think that's like not a bad critique, right? Like if like the critique basically is like, hey, you didn't give us enough of what you gave us. That's like
Yes.
both of what we said, right?
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
we're
Yeah.
not saying don't, we're not saying change this. We're saying like you didn't do it enough, which is
Right.
not
Yeah.
bad.
Oh my God, of
Yeah.
course not. Because it's like, now, I mean, obviously I'm gonna read the next in the series. But like it kind of you like introduce this world that like sometimes I think when like people have questions of like, well, why isn't it like this? Like, why this? Why that? And it's like because you made them interested. I don't think it's necessarily like, oh,
Yeah.
there's a level of like emotional investment, And so yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, Wayland, thank you so much for reading this book and joining me on the show. It's been long overdue that I get you on.
This was great. And I'm
Yay.
so happy when I got your email.
Yay. And you're welcome back
Yeah.
anytime. Listen,
Oh yeah,
love to have you
please
back.
have me back. Yeah. Yeah. Now I have to have more to compare it to so I can like really
Yes.
dig into the genre. I could do it
Yes.
on my own. I could read them on my
You
own.
can,
I
but
don't
like
need you.
you
Yeah.
want come on. How can you not? How can you read a romance novel and not want to talk about it with this
You got
here?
it. I don't like that. This is every time I've read one I've talked about it with you. So now
Yeah,
it's gonna
exactly.
I'm gonna yeah.
Hi. If you like today's episode and want to support the podcast, there are so many things you can do. You can leave a review, you can leave a comment, you can subscribe to the show's Substack page. You can also follow the podcast on social media at TSTL Podcast. And if you didn't like today's episode, why'd you listen all the way to the end? Too Stupid to Live is part of the Culture Podcast Network. Thank you so much for listening and have a stripy rest of your day. Meow.